Hi, my name is Kristine Bautista, and welcome to this session on technology resources for transition. In this session, we will be reviewing some lesser known facts about the Google platforms, and we will also be walking away with some ready-to-use templates that you can start implementing in your classroom right away. Let's get started. Here's the agenda for this session. Tip number 1, we are going to be doing a quick tour of Google Classroom. Tip number 2, we're going to be creating assignments on Google Docs, specifically creating a fillable table. Tip number 3, we are going to go through some lesser known functions of Google Slides, so Google Slides tips and tricks. Tip number 4, we're going to be creating assignments in Google Slides, particularly an assignment that has a locked background. And tip number 5, we are going to be showing you some tips for finding clip art for your Google resources. Here I am on my blank canvas, and I'm going to pull up Google Classroom. So I'm going to go to Chrome, and there are a number of ways that you can do this. You can either navigate to classroom.google.com in the URL bar. I prefer to go here up to the waffle, and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to scroll down. And if you have a Google for Education account, then the Google Classroom logo should populate. So I am going to select this. This is going to take me to my classroom dashboard. And as you can see, I already have some classrooms that have been created, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So I'm going to go up to this plus sign. I'm going to go plus, and I'm going to go down to create class. Okay, so for my class name, I am going to choose workability for now. And if I go down, I can choose a different section. I can choose a different period. This is a good place to put down a different period, and I can choose the subject in the room. I'm going to go ahead and select create, and it might take a few minutes to create. So here I am on my main class page, and I'm going to be directing us to the 5 areas that you will use the most. So those 5 areas are stream, classwork, people, grades, and setting wheel. With classwork really being the heart of Google Classroom, this is where you're going to be spending most of your time. Okay, so the stream, you can think of the stream sort of like your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed. I use this for sharing announcements. As you are selecting this, you can say welcome. And if you'd like, you can add an attachment. You can add something from your Google Drive. You can add a link. You can also add a file. You can upload something from your computer, or you can add a YouTube video. So when I go down to this blue button here, you see this arrow here, I can either post it, or I can schedule it for another time, or I can save the draft. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. Just so you know, if students have not turned off their email notifications, this will send them an email that there has been a new announcement that has been posted. That is essentially the class stream. I don't use it for too much, but in distance learning, I would typically post the agenda or a little welcome message for the day. Other components of the main classroom page, here's the class banner. You can go ahead and select a different theme if you wish. You can also upload a photo if you wish from your computer or from your drive. Over here to the left is your class code. If you select the expand button, then it projects the class code on a larger font so that students can join the class. You can also select the copy invite link. You can see that it copied it onto my clipboard, and I can go ahead and paste that in an email. And then a new feature is I can generate a Meet link if I would like to meet with my students over Google Meet. The next section I'm going to head over to is the classwork tab, which is where you're going to spend most of your time. I highly recommend before you start posting any assignments that you create topics. So topics are essentially modules. So I am going to go up here to the blue button where it says create, and I'm going to create a topic or a module before I begin posting assignments. So I'm going to create topic, and maybe this is going to be job applications. Maybe I'm going to do another one for job interviewing. And then a last one on resumes. So now I have 3 different topics and I can begin to create assignments and put them under the designated topic. If I want to reorder these, I can go over here to the little shish kebab stick and I can select it and I can go move down. I can move them in a different order. But now I have some different topics or different modules and I can organize assignments in that way so it's not just a long list of assignments. I'm going to go back to this blue create button so I can show you the different types of assignments you can post. You can post an assignment, and this is essentially grabbing an assignment from your Google Drive. It could be a Google Doc, it could be a Google Slide, it could be a Google Sheet, but this is mostly the type of assignment that I use. You can select a quiz assignment, so you can create a quiz on Google Form with an answer key that is self-grading. You can also ask a question. A question is like a discussion, so you can pose a question and students are able to respond to the question and also respond to their peers. You can also post a material, which is something that is ungraded, but maybe it's a resource that you want the students to look at. You could also reuse a post. So if you have different workability classrooms, maybe you have one for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. If you would like to reuse a post from another Google Classroom, you are able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the main one, which is creating an assignment. I'm going to select assignment. And here it asks me right away for the title. So I'm going to say maybe this is going to be my resume pre-write. And for the instructions, please complete this for today's class session. And I'm going to go down here to where it says add. And from here, I can get it from my Google Drive. So I'm going to select Google Drive. And I find that the fastest way to do this, if you have been working on it very recently, then it should populate on the recent. But what I like to do is I typically like to search. So if I'm going to do resume, and I can see that it populates for me. So I'm going to select that. And after that has been added, it's very, very important that you do this as you're posting. You do not want them to just view the file. You would like them you would like Google to make a copy for each student. The other option, students can edit file. That is if, for instance, if you had a PowerPoint that you wanted all of the students to contribute to. So I do that on a very intermittent, very rare basis. So I'm going to go make a copy for each student. Now it's very important that you know that when you make a copy for each student, essentially this makes a virtual copy for all of the students in your classroom. That being said, that means if you go in and edit this document, it is not going to be reflected on Google Classroom, and the students are not going to receive that edited version because you've already made a copy. You've already made a virtual copy of the original assignment up in the sky, and they will not receive the edited version. So be sure before you post that this is going to be the final version that you would like students to manipulate. Okay, so I'm going to post that on Workability. I would like it for all students. I'm going to select a points, or I can select ungraded. I can select a due date. And then for topic, I'm going to choose resumes. And then if I'd like to add a rubric, I can also do that. So then I'm going to go up to this blue button, and I can either select assign, or I can choose this blue arrow, and I can schedule it or save the draft. So I'm going to actually go ahead and assign it. And it populates under my resume section. And I'm done. So as you're going in, you can go ahead and create assignments. If you need to edit it and you accidentally put it in the wrong section, you can go to edit and you can change the topic. So I'm going to say I made a mistake and I need to put it into job interviewing, and I can put it under job interviewing. But for now, I'm going to put it back into resumes. Okay, other things on this classwork page is the Google Meet. Again, you can select that and you can add a Google Meet link there's also a quick shortcut to the Google Calendar. So if you would like to add something on the Google Calendar for the class, you're able to do that. And then lastly is this class drive file, which is awesome because essentially what Google Classroom does is it creates a folder in your drive that is specific to that Google Classroom. So students can have access to this folder, and I typically put class norms or class rules in here, or any accessory documents that I want students to have access to but not necessarily see all the time. Okay. The next section is the people section, and this is where you can manage the people that are in the class. So I can add teachers. I can do it this way by inviting teachers and typing in their email. Teachers have access. They can view the assignments, they can create and edit assignments, and they can also grade. I can also add students by pressing this little plus sign. I can give them the link, or I can actually send them an email. The next section is grades, and I don't have any students, but if I wanted to input grades, this is where I would be able to ascribe them scores. The last part that I am going to go over is the settings. So if you hit the little settings wheel, it takes you to this page and you can change the class details. You can go to your code. You can manage your invite codes. You can enable or disable them. You also have an invite link if you would like to invite people this way. You could also go to the classroom code and display it if you'd like. For the stream, you can enable or disable whether or not students can post and comment, or if students can only comment, or if only teachers can post or comment. Classwork on the stream, you can also choose if you want them to show the attachment and details, if you just really want condensed notifications, or if you want to hide them entirely. And then for the deleted items, for show deleted items, as a default, students cannot see items that you've deleted. Only teachers can view them, but if you would like to enable that, you can do that. Okay. And then for the grading section, you can also just change how it's graded if you want to do total points, if you want to weight it by category. This is where you would add the different categories. Okay. So I'm going to X this out. And I'm actually going to go over here to what I call the hamburger, to the main menu. And these are more shortcuts where you can go through your different classrooms. You could jump from class to class. This is also where students can jump from class to class. I'm going to go over to my classes. I'm going to go down to my main dashboard. Okay, so now I have my classrooms that I've created. Say I would like to teach this class in the future, or I'd like to save this classroom. I could always click the little shish kebab and I can select copy. And this will copy over all of the materials and the resources, but it will not copy over the students. So this is a good way if you'd like to copy a class and teach it another time. You can also, for the original class, you can also archive the class. And what that does is it removes it from your dashboard, but you can access it from the little hamburger under archived classes. So I think that's it for our Google Classroom tour. Okay, in this part of the session, I'm going to review how to create an assignment on Google Docs. Once you have Google Classroom set up, then you're ready to start creating assignments. And probably the most versatile, the most commonly used app that teachers use to create curriculum is on Google Docs. So I am going to show you how to create a document that looks like this. This is a resume pre-write. I'm a big fan of using tables to organize where students input their answers because it's just very clean. So here we go. I am going to create a new document in my drive. So I am going to navigate to my drive. I am going to create a new Google Doc. And right away when I open this, I'm going to name it. I'm going to name it the resume pre-write. And I'm also going to organize it because I don't want it to just drop into my drive and be unorganized. So I'm actually going to put it with my other resume pre-write items. So here we go, other resume unit. Okay, I'm going to title this resume pre-write. So I'm going to do my text. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to say resume pre-write. And I prefer to use Arial only because it is a sans serif font and it's just really super simple for the students to read. Okay, I just reduced my font to size 14. I'm going to press enter and I'm going to realign to the left indentation style and I'm going to insert a table. I'm going to insert a table and I want it to be 2 by, let's just say there's going to be 11 parts. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the case, but just to get started, that is what I am going to select. Now, as you can see, it's symmetrical, but I would like the student input box to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to drag with the arrow over to the side. And now it is bigger in the student output range. Okay. So what I have here is I have parts of a resume and I'm going to input those in: name, address, phone number, and email address. So I have name. I want them to have their address, their email address. What else did we have? Oh, phone number. And let's see, I'm going to go format, table. I'm going to insert a row below. So I have phone number. And what else did we have? Executive summary. So executive summary, which is what a lot of employers are looking for instead of an objective. And we have a sample example executive summary. I'm just going to Control C to copy that. So I selected it. I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to go back into my executive summary and I'm going to do Control Paste. And as you can see, what I had here is I had an executive summary listed here, but I want students to know that they need to fill this out themselves. And so I'm going to color code that. And so I selected this line and I went over here to the highlight color and I like using a light blue. You'll also notice that this box, the weight, the lines are a little bit thicker than the rest of the box. So I kind of like that thicker line. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all those lines thicker. So I'm going to highlight the entire table. I'm going to go up here to the weight and I'm going to choose, maybe that's 1.5. I want it a little thicker than that, maybe 2.25. Okay, so it makes the lines just a little bit thicker. Okay, next one are personal skills. So I have personal skills and I'm going to tell students, please highlight or circle at least 5. Okay, then I have this table here of terms that they can use for their personal skills because I found in the past that if you just leave it to their own devices, sometimes it's difficult to find lists of strengths. It's just a job in itself. I'd rather just have some proven ones here for the students to look at. So what I'm going to do is this is a table within a table. So I'm going to create that. I am going to insert a table within a table. So table, that is a 3 by 1. So there's 3 sections. And then I'm going to go through and I got these off of Google. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Same thing. I'm going to go up here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And then same thing here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So now I have a table of terms that students can turn to, and say I wanted these bars to be white. I just don't want them there. I can select them, and you see how when I hovered over them, it gave me this unique arrow to select just the lines. So I select the lines, and then I go up here to the border color, and I choose white. And so that is if I didn't want any of the lines to be in there. And I kind of like how that looks, so I'll just leave that as it is. Okay. As I go down, we're going to do work experience. So I'm going to press enter so it spans onto the next page. And let's see, I think this is still the same cell. So let me delete it. Let's go to this cell. So this section is work experience and or volunteer history. And then I just put a little note here. I did Control B to make it bold. Do not include if have never worked or volunteered. Okay. All right, so in here again, I am going to create another table within a table. And so it is a 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be an insert table 2 by 5. Okay. So here we go. The quadrants we have here are position, dates worked, e.g. 120 to 220, business, and major responsibilities. Okay. So the font is a little bit big, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. I'm going to go up to do size 12 font, and I am going to hover so I get this unique arrow again, and I'm going to move the line so the students have more room to input information. For this part, I would like it to span over these two cells. So I want this to be one row, essentially. So I'm going to highlight these two cells. I'm going to go to Format and go to Table and go to Merge Cells so that it becomes one. Then I'm going to center that. I'm going to do the same thing here. Format, Table, and Merge Cells, and so that they have more room to write their major responsibilities. The next section is education. So I'm going to put education, and there are certain things that we're looking for education. So I have them here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And I also have another table within a table. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to insert a 2 by, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 2 by 8. And I'm going to put name of school, city, state, expected graduation, GPA, if applicable, awards, clubs, and sports. Okay. I'm going to make that font just a little bit smaller, and then I am going to drag this line over. Okay. Then I have some other quadrants. I have birthday, I have address, I have email, I have hobbies. Okay. And then I have last component of this are references. So I'm going to press tab to make a new row, and I'm going to say references, and then I put some directions about references. I'm going to do Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And then again, we have another table within the table. So I'm going to go insert table. This looks like a 2 by 3. And here we go. Name, phone number, email. So here we have it. And let's see if it lets me copy the table. Oh, it's not allowing me to do that, so I'm going to have to manually do it. I suspect that this is because I have a new keyboard that isn't, for some reason it's not allowing me to copy and paste tables, but I'm sure that your keyboard will allow you to do that. So 2 by 3, I think I can copy at least the texts. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. Okay, so now I have pretty much a pretty close replica to that assignment. And the last thing that I like to do is I like to color code it so that students know where to write. So I'm going to select this table, and I'm going to go over here to the paint bucket, and I'm going to choose light blue. Okay. Same thing here. I want this light blue, and instead of going up to the paint bucket, I want to do, I want it to be easier. So I'm going to do Control Y to redo that action. I'm going to go here again, Control Y to redo that action. Control Y to redo that action. Control Y to redo that action. Again, Control Y, and Control Y. So there you have it. There is creating a little bit more of an intricate assignment on Google Docs. You could also do this with reading passages, but it's kind of more of a background of using tables to create assignments, which spatially, it seems like it's a really easy way for students to organize their answers. Okay, so now here we are on Google Slides. And first off, we're going to be going over some lesser known tricks of Google Slides. And so I'm going to start off with GIFs. And as you can see, the first slide has a lot of animated images. And this is great if you're creating a presentation, you just want to pick the students' interests. So to add GIF, they love them. They can be funny. They can just be eye-catching. So what I'm going to do is if I would like to add a GIF, it's super easy. I'm going to create a new slide and I'm going to open up a new tab, and let's say I want to do a GIF related to job interviewing. So I'm going to go to job interview. I'm going to search that in my Google toolbar. I'm going to go to images. And after I select the images, these are all static images, right? They don't move. So I'm going to head over to where it says tools. I'm going to go under tools, and then I'm going to go under type. And under type, there is that option for GIF. And when I select that, they have all of these job interview images that are actually animated. So you can see that this one's animated. Now, what I could do is I could right click this and I could copy the image address. I could insert the image, all of that. But I just want it to be super simple. And my students have actually shown me this. I can actually just drop it into the Google Slides and it will populate onto the Google slide and it will still be animated. So that is a GIF. You can also expand it so it takes over the whole slide. Okay, so I'm going to be going over Google Slides A through Z. As you can see, I don't have one for every letter, but it was just a way to organize some of the little tips and tricks I'm going to show you. So the first one is B for Bitmoji Chrome extension. And Bitmoji, you see this a lot as we have transitioned to distance learning, that a lot of teachers are being very, very creative with it. Bitmoji is an extension, so you can see that it is here. I've already loaded it, and if I click on it, it gives me my Bitmoji, and I can then take it, I can copy it, and then I can paste it. Let me delete this one. I can paste it onto my slide. It's important to note that the Bitmoji, when you're building your Bitmoji, you need to download the app on your phone. You cannot do it on the web, but once you sign up for an account and you have that on your phone, then you can add the Chrome extension over to your Google toolbar extensions and you can add it there and you can copy and paste. So I love Bitmojis. I love them for personalizing presentations, for personalizing handouts. You can also do a Bitmoji classroom, which I know that many of us have. So I'm going to go over here to my drive because I am going to be sharing a folder with you. And that folder will have this Bitmoji classroom template if you would like to use this. And this is awesome because the Bitmoji classroom template, you can modify it. I can choose almost any image on the web, and once I paste it to make it look like a poster, all I did is I went up here to the border weight and I changed the weight to 4 and I changed the color. I changed it to white in this instance, but you can change it really to any other color. So it's pretty modifiable. It's important to note that when you're adding an object onto your Bitmoji classroom, it should be a transparent background. So if I'm looking for an office chair, maybe I would type in office chair and I would go for images. And actually, I'm going to type in office chair transparent background. And when I select this, so I know that this isn't transparent. If the way that you can tell if it is transparent is it'll have the gray and white scheme in the back. This one does not, so I know that this has that kind of like that ugly white border, and I don't want that to show up on my classroom. This one does have the gray and white scheme, but I know just from past experience that if I copy that and then paste it onto my Bitmoji classroom, it still has that gray and white. So you kind of have to be a little scrutinous when you are looking for an image. Sometimes if I'm not having much luck, so I'm going to actually type in office chair clip art and see if I'm able to find one. And this is the one that I used, this one over here. But this one has that white border in it. I'm not going to use that. I think it was this one. So here we go. So once I click it, it's not until after I clicked it that it shows this gray and white transparent background. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and then I can go back to my tab and I can paste it, and then I can stretch it with the blue dots any which way. So my tip, if you would like to modify this classroom, is when you are searching for things, type the term and then type clip art in the search engine. Okay, so moving back down here, C is for Slides Carnival. So I highly recommend for like back to school night, or if you just want like a cooler slides theme, more than what is already offered in Google Slides, is to navigate to this page, which is slidescarnival.com. And when I navigate to this page, you can see there are all these really cool templates. Let's say it's this one. And it comes with so many different options in terms of layout. But I am looking for this yellow button that says uses Google Slides theme. And it will show you all of the different templates, and I'm going to go to use template, and when I click on that button, it's going to take a few minutes. It is going to import that into my drive. So a really quick and really polished theme that you can use. Okay. Going down to E, this is the Explore button, and this is perfect for if you are creating a presentation, but again, you don't want to create a new theme, but you want it to look very polished. So I'm going to create a new slide. Say this is my introductory slide, and say I'm going to do it on resumes. And I'm going to look for an image to put on there, and let's say this, let's not use a random resume. Maybe let's do job interviewing again. That was a good topic. So I'm going to go to job interviewing, and I can either copy the image and paste it, or, you know what, that one's pixelated. Let's do this one. Or I can drag it, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to put some text on the page. I'm going to insert, I'm going to put job interviewing. So in order for the Explore button to work, you need a text and an image on the page. Then you see there's this little yellow button, which is called Explore. If I click on that, then it gives me all these different formats that I can use for my introductory slide. And it's just a little bit more than what Google Slides offers. And I really like this translucent text box. I like that effect. Okay. E is also for Emojipedia. So Emojipedia is when you want to put emojis, if you want to put them into the subject line of your email, if you would like to put them when you are creating assignments on Google Classroom. The site that I use is Emojipedia. So the one that I use most often is the Apple. When I select Apple, it gives me all these options. I usually use the red apple, and then I can go in it, I can copy it to my clipboard, and then I can go in and paste it wherever I need it. Another website, and I'm actually just going to copy the link right here and just create it as we speak, is emojicopy.com. And I really like this website here and I really like this page because it's pretty user friendly. You just put the emoji in the bar, then you hit copy, and it's copied onto your clipboard. F is for flowcharts. And this is really handy, for instance, if you are doing the flowchart for job interviewing or for the job hunting process. So if I want to create a flowchart, let's say I want to do, what's the first step when you're looking for a job? Maybe you network, and I'm going to make that 20 font, and I'm going to do 2 point, and I'm going to center. Actually, I think I want to do it 25. Okay. And then maybe I copied and I pasted that. Maybe I am going to walk in. do a business. Okay. What I'm interested in. Then maybe I'm going to ask for a job application. And select that, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Maybe I'm going to fill out a job application. Okay, so then now I just have some steps, and I want to make a flowchart because I want to present it for the class. So what I can do is I can go over to this arrow symbol, and I'm going to do arrow. And as I hover over these text boxes, little purple dots appear, and I will connect it. If you can see, if I go to the next one, corresponding purple dots appear. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the arrow. Maybe I want to change the weight. Maybe I want it 4. I want it a little bit bigger. I'm going to do the same thing. Select the arrow. I'm going to connect it. And then I'm going to do 4, size 4. Do it again. There's the purple dots. I'm going to select. I'm going to drag it until it connects with another purple dot. And then I'm going to change the border weight to a little bit thicker. Now, the neat thing about creating flowcharts on Google Slides is I can move the boxes just according to where maybe I'm going to be putting images or whatnot, and the arrows will move with the box. So that is if you would like to create a flowchart. GIFs we've already went over, but here's some handy directions if you would like to insert a GIF into your presentation. Okay, G is for gradient. Students have a lot of fun with this, but teachers do too. This is kind of like a Photoshop function, but let's say I want to insert a shape and maybe I want it to be my background, and I'm going to insert a really big shape, and I'm going to go to the paint bucket to figure out what I want to fill it with. And I can either choose one of these colors on my color palette, or I can head over to this other menu, which is gradient, and I can choose one of the swatches here, which is just a gradient swatch. So here you go. You can see that there's all types of different colors that you can do if you want to use a different background for your slide. Okay. So I is for masked images, and this is just another cutesy thing that you can add to your Google Slides presentation. So a masked image is when they cut an image according to a certain shape. So maybe I would like to let's do Rugrats again, and I want to mask this image. So I'm going to go to images, I'm going to select an image, and I'm going to drag it again to my slide. Oops, I should have had this slide on there. Let's try this one more time. So now I want to mask the image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to this tool, which is the crop image tool, but I'm going to actually go down to this arrow, which is mask image. And from there, I can go ahead and I can choose a different shape, and it will mask the image for me, or cut the image, and then I can stretch it for whatever dimensions I would like it to be. Okay. J is for Jeopardy, and I did want to share with you a full 6-category Jeopardy scoreboard. I don't have it up right now, but let me bring it up. And this is going to be really helpful for you if you would like to review a concept. And this typically takes about an hour and a half to go through, maybe an hour if you're kind of pushing it. But there's 6 categories on this. You type in the categories here, and then you also edit them here, and then you can go in and type in your answer and your question. Just keeping in mind that the way that the traditional Jeopardy style is that you have the answer first, and then you have the question. So maybe your answer would be something like, this is a part of the job process where the employer has a conversation with the potential employee. And then the question would be, what is a job interview? So just some guidance on how this Jeopardy template is structured. And as I scroll down, you can see that there are 6 categories, and there's also a double Jeopardy that is under category 5, and it is the 400 slide. So when they click on the 400, they're actually going to get this slide, which is a daily double. And you will have the 400 question, which will be the daily double. And there's also a final Jeopardy. So I'll show you quickly what that looks like when you present it. So today's categories, and then you go through each of the categories. And then it will take you to the scoreboard. So you can go ahead, if you type in category or you click on category 100, it'll take you to the question. You can go to the home to bring you back. So that is a 6 category Jeopardy board, which I am going to put in that folder. Okay. Locked worksheets we're going to get into in just a moment. And this is using Google Slides to create locked worksheets, which is how you can create worksheets where they can insert text or insert their input, but they can't move things around. So I'm going to show you how to do that. P is for page setup. This is when we go into in-person instruction. If you would like to format a Google Slide so that you can actually print out on a standard sheet of paper, you can go and, let's say I'm going to create a new Google Slides. I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go to Page Setup, and then I'm going to go and to this little down arrow, I'm going to go to Custom. And that's where I'm going to put in the dimensions for a standard sheet of paper, which is 8.5 by 11. And then now my screen is formatted for a standard sheet of paper. And anything that I do on this flyer, let's say I put in a word art, anything that I put on this flyer is going to print out on a standard sheet of paper. So you can create flyers with this. You can create brochures with this. You just want to go to File, Page Setup, and you want to do 11 by 8 by 5 to make it like this way, like hamburger. So you can also print it out that way. So that is Page Setup. R is for running slideshows. So this is if you would like to create a slideshow of some type. Maybe you have pictures at the end of the year, you want to create a slideshow and you want it to keep running. So you want the slideshow to be running on its own. So once I've created a slide deck and I already have this here with the presentation, I would go to File and I go to Publish to the Web. And the default is every 3 seconds. I find that to be pretty perfect. And then I'm going to hit Publish. It's going to say, are you sure you want to publish this selection? You select yes, and then it gives you a link if you would like to share the slideshow. And if I click on the link, Control C to copy, I'm going to X that, Control V to paste, you can see that it shows the slideshow and it transitions on its own every 3 seconds. So here is the first one. I don't think I pressed the play. So here's the first slide, and in about 3 seconds, it's going to switch over to the next. Okay, S is for master slides. So this is great if you want to brand your slides. If you're doing a presentation either for your class or you're doing it for your colleagues and you really want it to have a polished look. So I've created this little banner on the bottom, and I want this to be on every page, but I don't want to have to copy and paste this on every page. And by the way, I did this, I used the logo, and then I also created a shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both by selecting this and pressing Shift and then selecting the other one. And then I'm going to hit Control C to copy. Then I'm going to go up to Slide and I'm going to go to Edit Master. When I go to Edit Master and I scroll up to the very top slide, I'm going to go to the top slide, which is the master slide, and I'm going to do Control V to paste. And as you can see, when I put it on that master slide, it's going to populate on all the other slides, which is awesome because it saves me work and it allows my slide deck to just have a really polished and together look. So that is, and you can see it already did. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes to do it. Okay, T, I'm going to undo that actually right now. T is also for translucent text box. So this is if you just want that translucent text box. I've already done one, but let's do another one. If I go to insert text box, and let's say I want to write the job interview, and I want that to be big. So I'm going to make that like 40. And I want it to be translucent. So I'm going to select the box. I have to select it on the lines. I'm going to go to the paint bucket, and I'm going to go to custom. When I go to custom, maybe I want it to be blue, but I want it to be a little translucent. I'm going to slide this transparency bar And when I press OK, you can see that it has that same effect of the translucent text box. Maybe I don't want a black text. Maybe I want white text. Okay, so that's another way to personalize your slides. Okay, V is for Venn diagrams, and you can see that there is an example here, but let's create one real quick. Venn diagrams, you're also using that translucent text box option. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Shape this time. I'm going to go to Shapes, and I'm going to do these 2 circles. I'm going to select Control-C, Control-V. Actually, no, I'm not going to paste yet. I'm going to fill that with a solid, maybe green, but I want it to be transparent. Okay, then I'm going to do another one. I'm going to Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, and I'm going to fill that in. Maybe I want it to be this color, and I need to go down to Custom, again, sliding that transparency bar over, and then I've created this Venn diagram where students can insert text boxes or compare and contrast 2 different things. Okay. W is for word art. We use this mostly when we are making memes. They do have like meme makers online, but I find sometimes that when I direct students to other platforms, sometimes I lose them a little bit. So when I am going to create a word art, I am going to go to Insert, Word Art, and I'm going to say my face went, and you see how it populates with Arial font. I can use Arial. I kind of prefer to use Impact, and then I can go ahead and select the text. I can make the border a little bit thicker. I can use, maybe I want it size 3, and I can go ahead and create memes if I want to. So again, I can change the font if I want to. So that is word art, and I love word art because it allows you to stretch. And then there are some directions to create a meme. Okay, so that's it with some lesser known tips on Google Slides. In the next section, we're going to be going over how to create locked worksheets. For the session, we are going to review how to create an assignment in Google Slides. We've learned how to create an assignment in Google Docs, which is very helpful if you are doing a text assignment and you want students to input their answers. However, if you want something that is a little bit more visually appealing and you want more shapes, then you may want to consider doing it on Google Slides. So we are going to be creating this one together. This is a hopes and dreams survey that we send out to students and they complete it digitally. When we're in person, obviously we do it in print, but the current circumstances necessitated that we have a digital version. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to go to my drive and I am going to create a new Google Slide. So let's navigate to where I want it to create it, and I want to create it within the hopes and dreams folder. And the reason for that is it just saves me a step so I don't have to organize it later. So I am going to go to new and I'm going to select Google Slides, create in the shared folder, yes. And the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to name it. And I am also going to take out these presets because I don't like how these look. I want a blank slate. So I'm going to go to Slide, Apply Layout, and I'm going to go blank. The other alteration that I want to make is I would like it so it is a vertical view, and maybe I want printing capability. So when we go back to in-person instruction, if I want this to print out on a piece of paper or I want to download it as a PDF, I want it to print out on a standard sheet of paper. So I'm going to go up to File, go to Page Setup, and then I'm going to choose this arrow and I'm going to go down to Custom. And I'm going to change the dimensions to the dimensions of a standard sheet of paper. And I want it to be hot dog, so standing vertical. So I'm going to do 8.5 by 11. If I did it the other way around and I did 11 by 8.5, that would give me the hamburger. Here I have the page and it is formatted to 8.5 by 11 if I wanted to print it out. So I'm going to go back to my model, what I'm looking at, and I want to insert a border. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to insert an image. I'm going to upload it from the computer, and actually what I have is I have a folder full of design elements. Let's find it here. And here, this is my folder where I keep all of clip art and things that I have that I've downloaded off of either TPT or I've found them on Etsy. So let's see. I believe I have a folder on borders. So if I go down here, here it is. So I have some borders that I can work with. I think these are just corners, so I want the full page border. I think this looks pretty similar to what it is. Let's roll with it. Fair enough. I'm going to start copying my template. So I'm going to go to Insert, Text Box, and I'm going to put in Hopes and Dreams. That font looks bigger, so I'm going to do Control A to select. I'm going to make this a 25, and it looks like it's like a handwriting font. So I'm going to go to More Fonts, and I'm going to choose, let's see, under Show All Fonts, there is a handwriting option. It kind of looks like this one, the dancing script. So let's go down, and now that it's added, I'm going to go to dancing script. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. It looks kind of bigger, and I'm going to center that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of like this excess text, and then I'm going to put it up there like that. Okay, and then I have some other shapes here, so let's put those in. We have an insert, we have a call out, we have this little speech bubble, so I'm going to go ahead and do the speech bubble. I want a white fill, maybe a size 2-point outline, and here is where I'm going to write dreams. Okay, and I'm going to put that there. Okay, and then we have two other text box, so let's go to, I can even go like this, and I can insert a text box, and I'm going to say, I learn best when ... And I'm going to change the border to a 2. And then I have another text box. I'm just going to Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And the other one is favorite classes. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Make this a little bit smaller so that everything is going to fit on the page. And then I have some other ones, 3 words to describe myself, and some other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Maybe make this a little bit smaller. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. And the other one is, if I could study one thing for a day, it would be, and then classes that are engaging, oops, or challenging, actually. I'm seeing already that the font might be a little big, so I'm going to change this to size 10. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to do Control Y to repeat that action. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to do Control Y to repeat that action again as well. Okay, then I have, it says life after high school, and I am going to insert that. I believe that these are all text boxes, so I'm going to go to Insert, Text Box. I'm going to do the L, and I believe that is like a, I don't know, 20. I'm going to make this white and the background pink. Maybe make that font bold, and I'm going to just reduce that outside space. Then I'm going to highlight that, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. So now it's going to say life. I can go ahead and change the backgrounds. That's like a green, and that's like a gold. And I can press Shift to highlight all of them, and I want them all centered. So now they're all centered, and I'm going to say life. It says after high school, so I'm going to go like this, after high school. Okay. All right, and then it has a section for these career interests. So I'm going to go to insert another text box, and I'm going to say career interests, plan A, plan B, and also make sure that there's a border around this because typically as the default there's not. I'm going to Control C to copy and Control V to paste that for the next box, which is school training needed. Plan A, plan B. Maybe make this text just a little bit smaller. And so I can put a space in between there. Let's see, move this aside just a bit. Maybe fill that with white so it goes over the background. I'm going to do Control C to copy again, Control V to paste. And here I'm going to say community involvement. That could help me get there. And so I could do clubs at school, plan A, plan B. And then there's also entry level jobs, internships, or volunteering I can do. Control U, plan A, plan B. Okay, I think there's one more. I'm gonna Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and I'm gonna drag this down and do people who can help me. Okay. And then down below, there's another text box about transition documents. I'm going to put a little text box here. I'm going to make sure that it's filled in with white so it goes over the background, which is not always the prettiest, but we can kind of fix things up later. I could stretch the background out a little bit later. But let's put a border on this, and I'm going to write transition documents checklist. I'm going to say give some space for school ID, give some space for state ID, give some space for driver's license, and give some space for selective service. Okay. All right, so now I have the bare bones. I may just put white there. I have the bare bones of this hopes and dreams survey, but now I want to put in the boxes where students are going to write in. So I'm going to insert those as text boxes. So I go to insert text box, and I'm going to put a little, insert text box. I'm going to put a little text box here. You got to make sure that it comes up with this crosshair symbol so that you can do it. And I like putting the background as like a light blue to indicate to students that they need to type into it. And whatever text or font type and size that is selected up here is what's going to come out, and I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe I want it a little smaller, so I'm going to do 12. And maybe I want there to be a little bit of a border. Okay, so now when students type on that, they know it's going to come out with that text. Then I'm going to do I'm going to select this on the lines, and I'm going to do Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and I'm going to put one in each of these boxes. So not super perfect, but you know, I'll switch it later. Select Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control V to paste. So same thing. It looks like these boxes down here are going to be similar in size. These ones are going to maybe be a little bit smaller. So you just want to be sure that the box is big enough to see the type. So it's pretty big. Let me make it a smidge bigger. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and Control Z to undo if I don't like what it did. Control C to copy, Control V to, ooh, these are super small. So I may want to go back and kind of maybe fix things a little bit. I'm going to select those by pressing Shift. So I can select it, press Shift again so that I can select multiple items. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And there I have it here. these are super small ones. So let's do one. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And I'm going to do a really small box because these are really just meant to be single letters, like they put an X in or whatever. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Oops. And sometimes you got to make sure that you get the line and not the corners when you're selecting. So you see, you want that symbol to come up, and then this symbol to come up. Okay. All right. So now we have a layout that we're pretty pleased with. I'm going to zoom a little bit into this. And now I don't want them to be able to really mess with the rest of the parts on the page. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to select all of these text boxes. I'm going to remove them, and then I'm going to download whatever is left as an image, and then use that as my background. So let's go through the steps. And once you kind of see the process, I think it'll make a lot more sense. So I'm going to highlight all the text boxes. So I press Shift to select the multiple text boxes that I want the students to use. And then I'm going to do Control X to cut because I still want this on my clipboard. Like I still want to be able to paste this. I still want to save the work that I did. So I'm going to Control X to cut because I want to save it, but I also want to cut it away from everything temporarily. I'm going to do Control X to cut. So now I have a template. I don't want them to move this stuff, right? So I'm going to go to File, Download. I'm going to download this current slide as a PNG. Now it's downloaded. And then I'm going to do something very scary. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to put a little box in to select everything. I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to change my page background. So I'm going to background. I'm going to go to choose image. And then I'm going to upload that PNG. So that's here. I uploaded it. It is on there now. So you see I can't move anything on there because it's an image that is on the background. And then my last step is I do Control V to paste. And there you have it. Now you have a Google Slides assignment where the background is frozen and you can go ahead and manipulate the text boxes, or students can manipulate the text boxes. So it's very easy to copy a document once you see it, and you can manipulate it on slides. Even if I saw a resume example that I really liked on Google, it's very easy to kind of go on Google Slides and make something similar, because this is just a shape, right? Let me find another one. This one too, right? I could just put like a shape here, and then I can input other things. So it's very easy to copy an existing document, and then when you want to lock it and put places for students to type, this is the process that you can follow to do that. So I hope that was helpful. This was our session on creating an assignment on Google Slides with a locked background. Our last segment of the session today, I just wanted to give you some tips and tricks for finding clip art for your Google resources in case you want to add some visuals that are not as common, that are eye-catching. So I'm going to open up a new window in my Chrome browser. I'm going to go to File and New Window. And here are the two sites that I mostly use for clip art. I go to teacherspayteachers.com and I can type in clip arts. So I can go for job interview clip art. And if I put that in, there's a lot of different job interview clip arts. A lot of them are for purchase, but sometimes you can find some free ones. Like, for instance, if I put umbrella clip art, that would come up with a lot of different clip arts. And all of these have transparent backgrounds, so they're really useful, and they look much more appealing when you put them on Google Slides or on handouts. You could also layer them. The other place that I look for clip art is Etsy. And Etsy has a lot of not only clip art, but also backgrounds. So if I wanted to do watercolor backgrounds, I could search that and find all these palettes of different watercolor backgrounds, which are beautiful to add on slides or to put on handouts. I could also type in something like I like graffiti background. I've done this one before. They also have borders, which is nice if you wanted to add a custom border. And then lastly, they also have fonts. So if I wanted something like a block font, I could do that as well. Obviously, if you are choosing a font, you want to make sure that you have a graphics program such as Adobe Photoshop or something like that so that you can then go and use those fonts. But those are definitely my go-tos for clip arts when I'm trying to add something a little bit more unique into my resources. Here is a link to the resources and the templates that have been shared in our session together today. If you copy and paste this link into your browser, it will take you to a view-only folder from which you can right-click, select all of the documents, and right-click and make a copy into your own drive. Okay, that's the end of our session. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was helpful to you in some way and that you learned some new tips and tricks on some of the Google platforms. Feel free to reach out at Kristine at whatIwishIlearnedinschool.com if you have any questions, or connect with me on Instagram or Facebook, or check out my blog at www.whatIwishIlearnedinschool.com. I post some pretty regular posts on things that I'm teaching in the classroom and some tools that I'm using, and I'd love to connect with more professionals about transition and how we can make it better. Take care and have a great school year.